Grant Hill's level of play was so high that there was only one player that he could be compared to: Michael Jordan. He was only in his third season, but the NBA world knew there was something special brewing. His skill and talent were already exceptional, comparable to some of the all-time greats. We never got to see the best of Grant Hill, and we all still remember how great a player he was during this time. His peak was sensational. In the 1996-97 season, we got to see his individual greatness and how he could carry a team to an overachieving season. They were going to need him to do a lot of the heavy lifting after the Pistons received some discouraging news. The young and promising Allen Houston signed with the New York Knicks. This was supposed to be one of the best duos in the NBA. We later found out that he didn't get along well with Grant. He didn't like Doug Collins' coaching methods, and he was very upset with team management. He signed a 7-year, $56 million contract with the Knicks. The Pistons were simply unwilling to pay him that kind of money. On paper, this team got worse. There didn't seem to be much hope in Detroit. But as the season started, this team couldn't stop winning. They started the first 10 games with a 9-1 record. They were able to ride that momentum up to the All-Star break. By that time, they had the third best record in the East. They were only 2 games behind the Miami Heat. The secret to their success was the greatness and versatility of Grant Hill. He was someone who could play point guard, shooting guard, and small forward effectively. For the second straight year, he led the team in points, rebounds, and assists. At the time, he was only one of 3 players to lead their team in those 3 categories more than once. He joined the company of Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Baylor. He was arguably the best all-around player in the game. The proof is in the numbers. He averaged 21.4 points on nearly 50% shooting, 9 rebounds, 7.3 assists, and 1.8 steals per game. Up to that point, only Oscar Robertson, Wilt Chamberlain, John Havlicek, and Larry Bird were able to record at least 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists per game for a season. He also had 13 triple-doubles, which was a number that wasn't surpassed for years until Russell Westbrook came along. There were hardly any holes in his game. He was a vicious rebounder, an exquisite passer, and he killed opponents by covering the passing lanes. As far as scoring, no one was more explosive. He had tremendous ball handling abilities and a killer first step. Once he got by his man, his mission was to posterize the opposing centers. This guy was a force of nature. It's hard to find a big man who wasn't a victim of a poster dunk from G Money. Although he wasn't a great 3-point shooter, he had developed a reliable mid-range shot. According to Basketball Reference, he was shooting 49.8% from 16 feet to 3-point range. If you were worried about the drive, he would make you pay. You could take it from me or from one of his rivals at the time. Check out what Steve Smith said about his game during a segment on Open Court.
Competing against you, watching you play, I have never seen anything like that. You know what I mean? For a guy, I pride myself being, a big guard. You seeing him hound the basketball and, because we played against you guys in playoffs 2 or 3 times when we were saying, we can't stop him from getting to the bucket with Dikembe behind us. Mm-hmm. Where Dikembe's, you dunking on Dikembe with ease. And with Mookie, with myself and us all double teaming and him being able to make it easy. And, no disrespect to your teammates, you didn't have a lot with you.
He wasn't the only one who was singing his praises. Michael Wilbon wrote an interesting article about him for the Washington Post in '97. He said that he's no longer a star in the making. In pure and simple terms of basketball dominance, one man's ability to affect the outcome of a game, he surpassed Shaquille O'Neal, surpassed Penny Hardaway, surpassed Hakeem Olajuwon, surpassed Charles Barkley, and surpassed even the all-around ability of Scottie Pippen. If you could pick anybody you wanted from the NBA talent pool, here's the way the draft ought to be conducted. Number 1, Michael Jordan. Number 2, Grant Hill. This was not considered a hot take. He was already that good. There was even a New York Times article that year where the headline was calling him the next Michael Jordan. It's no accident that he finished right behind him in the MVP race. He finished in 3rd place. Late in the season, he proved to the world that he was worthy of those comparisons. They were hosting the Chicago Bulls, and Grant Hill proceeded to do this.
Here's fourth all the way, and Hill slams it home. 3-2. Magic Johnson, his fourth gets down, it counts, and the foul. That foul on Pippen is first. Oh, what a feint by Hill. Deeper and deeper, that time had him in a backcourt, but it has not bothered Hill. Pass by Williams, here's Kumars, 3-on-1, and it's Hill finishing it off.
It was a magnificent all-around performance. He led his team to a 108-91 victory. He picked apart this juggernaut by doing a little bit of everything. He finished with 27 points on 48% shooting, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, and 1 steal. He broke down the defense by driving to the lane and creating easy shots for his teammates. The Pistons were also an excellent pick-and-roll team, largely thanks to Hill. If you're wondering what he was going to do next, he would burn you with a mid-range jumper. Let's not forget that he had an elite defender guarding him, Scottie Pippen, but it didn't matter. The Bulls were looking to achieve back-to-back 70-win seasons, and he just wouldn't let them. But that's not the only performance worth mentioning. His most memorable one came against the Los Angeles Lakers. This might have been the first glimpse of what Kobe and Shaq would end up doing to the league. The rookie ended up with 21 points on 62% shooting, while Shaq had 18 points, 19 rebounds, and 5 blocks. But Grant Hill ruined their coming out party. He had 34 points on 52% shooting, 15 rebounds, 14 assists, and 1 steal. In the fourth quarter, he put his team on his back and had 15 points in the period. But nothing was bigger than when he made this shot that sent the game to overtime. Thanks to his clutch play, they eventually won the game in the second overtime. The last performance worth mentioning came in the final game of the season. This was a victory that they desperately needed. They were looking to avoid getting the 6th seed, and they owned the tiebreaker over the Charlotte Hornets. They were on the road against the Indiana Pacers. They were already out of playoff contention, but they wanted to end their year with a bang. They almost stole their thunder after Reggie Miller made a 3-pointer at the buzzer that forced overtime. But Grant Hill was not going to let his team lose. He finished with a season-high 38 points on 60% shooting, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 1 steal. Thanks to his dominant performance, the Pistons secured the 5th seed and finished with 54 wins. It was the most they had won since their 1990 title season. It was a great accomplishment for a team that didn't have high expectations to begin with. If we remember what Steve Smith said, they didn't exactly have a strong team. Their second leading scorer was Joe Dumars, who was considering retirement before the season began. The rest of the roster consisted of fine role players like Lindsey Hunter, Terry Mills, Aaron McKee, and Theo Radcliffe. Then there was Otis Thorpe. He did bring some championship experience, but he was also causing a lot of distractions. He had a disagreement with Doug Collins in early February, and he was called out in front of the team. He was also upset that he wasn't being involved in the offense more. It got to the point where he wouldn't acknowledge Doug, and he would ignore him during huddles. This played a big part in their struggles in the last part of the season. In their last 20 games, they went 9-11. It was a disappointment considering how strong they started the year. There were many factors that could have caused them to have an underachieving season. Grant Hill's play and leadership saved them from disaster. The numbers back up how important he was to this team. He recorded an 8.0 value over replacement player rating. Just for context, that's the same rating as these legendary seasons: Magic Johnson in 1987, Kobe Bryant in 2006, Tim Duncan in 2002, and Charles Barkley in 1990. During his peak, he had that strong of an impact that could be comparable to the all-time greats. Even though he didn't have the most talented teammates, they had the 5th best offensive rating in the league. His ability to elevate his team's level of play is comparable to LeBron James. They relied on Grant a lot to make something happen, and he usually delivered. As great as he was in the regular season, his next test was whether he could lead his team in the playoffs. Their first round matchup was against the Atlanta Hawks, who won 56 games. They had the 3rd best defensive rating thanks to Dikembe Mutombo. They also had Steve Smith, Mookie Blaylock, and all-star Christian Laettner. This was going to be a tough matchup, but they had a 2-1 series lead. In Game 3, he proved that he could impact the game in every facet. He had 24 points on 53% shooting, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 1 steal. Those 2 blocks came in the fourth quarter, which were huge in preventing a comeback. He did a great job of knowing when to get others involved and when to take over. It seemed like the Pistons could pull off the upset, but the Hawks took care of business in Game 4 behind a huge performance from Steve Smith. It all came down to the deciding 5th game. The game was tied at halftime, and then Grant Hill took over. He scored 12 of his 21 points in the third quarter. That helped the Pistons have a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter. But the Hawks stormed back thanks to the hot shooting of Mookie Blaylock and Tyrone Corbin. But the biggest X factor was Dikembe Mutombo. He had 4 blocks in that period. 3 of them came on Grant Hill. He was aggressive, trying to climb over the top of Mount Mutombo, but he denied him every single time. In their last chance to tie the game, Terry Mills missed his shot badly. It was a devastating end to their season. But it doesn't take away what he accomplished. In just his 3rd season, he was already a top 3 player. His play was so impressive that Doug Collins said this to reporters during the season. "In my mind, Grant's the MVP of the league this year. Take him off our team, and where will we be? Michael's still the best player, but Grant's the most valuable, and he's so close to being the best player. God willing, if he keeps his health, it's just a matter of time." That quote just makes my stomach turn every time I hear it. We already established that this was Hill's peak season, but he still had more room to improve. If only his body didn't betray him, then who knows what else he could have accomplished in his career. But what about you all? What do you remember from this season? What do you think he could have accomplished with the Orlando Magic? And where do you think he would have ranked all time if it wasn't for injuries? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.